Okay, so let's talk about serialized cards. Why has Hasbro and Wizards been seeing success in the serialized card section? And and you may be asking yourself, like, for me as a collector, is this something that I should be doing? Cardboard lender, what's your perspective on the serialized card? Is it good for collection? Is it going to hold long term value? Um, so my son just loves hitting that doorbell over and over. So what increases demand? Well, there are serialized cards that are like Leonardo da Vinci, right? Names that everybody knows. And I think those will have good long-term value, even if they're not staples or even if they're not like very powerful cards in certain niches. One of Like Cleopatra, for example, and one of the really cool things that Hasbro and Wizards has done is it unfortunately came out in one of the worst sets ever, which is Assassin's Creed, because of the timing. You can check my video that I did last time on Assassin's Creed, but Cleopatra, Da Vinci, all in the native language, Da Vinci, all in the native language of where they're from. Like, I thought that was such a cool idea, and people were buying it $500 to $1,000. So we see that it works, but not every serialized card is like that, right? There are a lot of serialized cards that fall into obscurity, and so one of the interesting things about it is, like, how is the long-term performance growth of a serialized card is going to be? And anytime I mention anything related to money, this is not investment advice, but this is just ramblings of me, the crazy cardboard lender in Texas. So the first thing is that, nobody is playing with these cards. I'm not out here getting my grubby little fingers on a serialized cards and playing with them. That's mind blowing to me, right? There are a few people that I've seen on YouTube, Wubby and Moist Critical, right? They are actually playing with the serialized cards in their game, and it brings a lot of clicks. So for their YouTube channel, so I can't really blame them for that because they're getting the value out of it right then and there. But for everyone else, who's standard player, standard collector, they're getting it graded and slabbed. So we can't really expect to see a decrease in the quality of the supply, because literally you pull it, you sleeve it, you send it to be graded, and it's there, right? And I think that's like what 99.9% of everyone's doing. The population of the set is known for serialized cards because it's literally printed right there on the card. It's a double-edged sword. You know exactly how many are available, but also, and that's one of the downsides, but the benefit is that, well, you know exactly how many are available. Like, there's no guessing game, right? People actually like that. So you have a lot of information, but because you have a lot of information, you have no surprises, right? It's sort of interesting like that. Grading will be the main differentiator between the serialized cards. Yes, you could have 1,000 or 500 serialized cards packed fresh. Doesn't mean all of them are going to be 10s. There could be some printing variances in the borders, or the positioning, or the texture quality, or whatever. Was it printed in the U.S.? Was it printed in Japan? Right. The power level of different serialized cards demands a different price, right? Do I really think getting one serialized card of the best one is better than 50 of a lesser one? I'm not 100% sure. Only time will tell. But I think the best strategy for anyone who's serious about, who already has a collection and they're looking to expand and diversify it, is just getting one of everyone and creating a complete set. Because I think what will happen is that these serialized cards will match inflation. And not only will they match it, I think they'll exaggerate it. Inflation or deflation. So what do I mean by that? I mean that, like, it's sort of like if you've ever heard of like leveraged funds or leveraged ETFs, which I never recommend anyone ever do. Not only because of the risk, but also because of the component of decay. You can just Google up decay in leveraged products. But I think the performance of serialized cards is going to match something like a leveraged vehicle without the decay aspect. What do I mean by that? If the market's booming, right? S&P 500 is all-time high. People are spending. Magic is doing amazing. I think a serialized card is going to be, the price of it's going to go like way up for that brief period of time. Because there'll be a lot of demand. And people will have a lot of money to spend and they'll want to buy something like that, like a Chase hit. But on the other side, if the market is very slow and we see like a 20% decrease in the market, I think we're going to see like a 60% decrease in the price of a serialized card. Because when people don't have as much money, it's going to be one of the last things that they're going to buy, right? Because it doesn't really have a playability aspect. It's purely for collection. So I guess you could play with it if you use a reference card, like I mentioned in my collection video. But other than that, I think it's going to be one of the last things on the people's buy list, right? And how many serialized cards are out there? Well, in the mortgage industry, we use something called the power of 10 rule, right? When it comes to mortgage-backed securities, secondary market, trying to estimate population. So think of it like power of 10 is like, let's start at 10,000. Do we think there are 10,000 serialized cards in circulation? Well, for sure, right? At least. Because there's sets that have 500 of a certain version, and then some of them have different languages, and then there's, who knows how many different variants of the serialized card. Or not variants, but different serialized cards, like actual cards. So there's usually like, let's say 5,000 a set. So we know in 2 sets there's at least be 10,000. But do we think there's a million, right? So add 2 more zeros to that 10,000. Do we think there's a million serialized cards in circulation? I think that's way too much. Just based off the fact that each set, has a couple 500s, couple of thousands, couple 700s, whatever. I think a million is like way overshooting it. I don't think we're anywhere near that number yet. So what's in the power of tens? What's between 10,000 and a million? Well, 100,000. I think that's a conservative, good starting point for what we think the amount of serialized cards in circulation are at. Could be 2, could be 3, could be 50, but at least we're not off by a power of 10, right? So that's a good approximation. Let's just say 100,000. If you already have a collection and you're already diversified and you have, sealed boxes of stuff, and you have like your own little collection of the cards that you really love and you can tell a story about, maybe I'll do a little video on some of the cards that I really love in my collection. What's a great way to expand that? Well, I think it's serialized cards. What are 2 methods that you could start if you were in that position? One of each serialized card that came out in a set. Whether it's weak or strong, doesn't matter. Just one of each. And then if you want to go even further above and beyond that, pick like 1 to 3 of those cards if you want to speculate, which, again, like I don't think it's a good move for individual cards. I think it's better to just purchase a sealed box. But like if you wanted to get 1 to keep and then 1 to sell or whatever, I would only do that with some of the strongest, most popular cards of those serialized cards. But I would put that like way at the bottom of the list. Like assuming you really need diversification, like you already have a bunch of sealed boxes, you have investment properties, you have your Roth IRA, you have you're a percentage owner of some a company that's starting up. Like you have diversified into everything and you're still looking for something to do. That's the only time I would ever promote like redundancy of a serialized card. I think the best starting point, which is still sort of the bottom of the list, is 1 of each serialized card. But for sure, any beginner collectors, don't even think about it. Go for the serialized boxes, right? This doesn't have any serialized cards, but let's assume this was a set that did. Or actually, here, the Fallout right here, right? Fallout has serialized bobbleheads, boom. Sealed pack. there could be a serialized card in here. You never know. All right. So that's my recommendation. And that's pretty much the ideas and concepts that I had about serialized card. And shout out to Spindrift, you know, local Target. No sugars, great stuff. But yeah, that's the ideas I had about serialized cards. If you all have any serialized cards that you really love, put them in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. I just received a comment about a guy who has a collection of, you know, all different languages like Korean and Russian and all that. I thought that was super cool because you know the supply is low because English is definitely by far the largest in the print supply. And if you connect yourself with other investors and other people that really like that aspect as well, maybe they have family from Russia or I don't know, some sort of story that they like and the reason why they would like it, you put yourself in a good position in the future whenever you're looking to sell your collection. And you know, meeting new people never hurts. So I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and that was my thoughts on serialized cards.